Chris report, and he assured me that St. Simon's down in Boulders. Folks, this is Chris Wyatt reporting from South Africa. Plekke de zon for jou and my. Place in the sun for you and me. Folks, it is a gloriously beautiful day here in central Pennsylvania, the 4th of February, 2024. Welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports. This is Chris live in central Pennsylvania. I do hope that you've had a lovely day if you find yourself on the other side of the world, like Alter Bridge in Perth, or Andre Jacobs there in China, or, gosh, Authentic Max in Nepal. I wonder whatever happened to Authentic Max. But for folks in South Africa, your day is pretty much over. It's just early evening there. I hope that your evening is going as well and you had a lovely Sunday. Here in central Pennsylvania, folks, the sun is shining. It's cold, but the sun is shining. And yesterday, my solar panels almost set a record for wintertime. The second highest amount of sunshine converted to electricity yesterday was pretty exciting stuff. Final tally yesterday was 29.3 kilowatt hours. Woohoo! Yeah, good stuff, exciting. Well, welcome back to the program. We have some news to report to you today, Sunday, the 4th of February, 2024. First, I want to say thank you very much to all the folks around the world who are so kind to me and who follow my broadcast, my production, my news, my analysis, and have stuck with the program through all the censorship. I'm very grateful for it. And also the generosity of folks all over the world, but especially those in South Africa. A special thanks and shout out to them. As I sit around here in my studio and look at gifts from people, things like this pretty incredible walking cane, which actually got me on a plane first from Joburg to Cape Town once upon a time, which was not my intent. That's an Oryx horn. Check that out there. There you go. So there you go. Or, yeah, Oryx. So that was from Garrett, of course, and then other gifts like, of course, a little handmade teddy bear up there in the corner there. Does that look familiar, folks? That was a gift to me as well. And then, of course, this gift, which got left in South Africa on my first trip because I got it a bit late to put into my suitcase, or I neglected to put in there. And this is lovely, hand-produced quality with a sheath. Gorgeous knife, incredible quality here. I've used this several times. This is really good stuff here. It's a really good talent in South Africa. The handles are very well put into that. This is quality stuff, and it was a gift. Thank you so much for that. I do appreciate those gifts. I don't forget about them. I've got the book over here that was put together. It's right down there for my birthday in the first year of broadcasting, which was very generous from my viewers. Thank you all for that. I'm so glad that you all were able to do that. That's an incredible thing. I'll never forget that. It's a memory I'll always have. But let's get to the chat and say hello to everybody, folks. Right. I didn't cover the Scotland game yesterday. Scotland won the game, but apparently they were beating Wales 27-0 and held on to win 27-26 in a very disappointing outcome for Scotland. Many commentators saying the victors felt like the vanquished after Scotland wins a test match but nearly chokes it away. Meanwhile, of course, we did cover on Rugby Ascendant Ireland and France, and Ireland romped. They thoroughly dominated France, but it still looked like they might surrender it in the second half. Now, a lot of people blame it on the red card, but France was never in this game. Their attacking game was pathetic, and they really were not in it. So congratulations to Ireland with a bonus point victory now as atop the log in the Six Nations after just one game, and probably, arguably, the toughest match they'll face, and they walked away easily. So Ireland is in great shape to repeat as Six Nations champions. Dylan Combrick, hello to you. Nick Muller. Eric is here. Hello, Erica. Sue Walsh. Rod Lofeld, and from Nelspritz. Who else we got there? Teresa's here. Hello, Teresa. And then we've got Ants. Hello, Ants. Daniel Prinsloo says, Chris Wyatt for the new Namibian president. Well, I would accept it if they gave me a chance to fix Namibia. I would end the racial nonsense. I would redistribute the government's budget to ensure that it's focusing on economic development and infrastructure to bring people in and industry in and do something about the high levels of poverty. Also introduce, family planning, which is, not abortion, but actually being responsible, not having 35 children. Things that Namibia desperately needs. Gabrielle is in from the Schweiz. He says, good day. The rugby match, Italy-England was close. Yes, England nearly lost that. Oh, wait, 27-24 in that contest. The Italians showing some strength there. That's good to see. It would have been nice to see them upset England. I would have been dancing on the roof if I'd seen that. Emil Therrett is here. Welcome to you. Janet Liddy in from South Carolina. And then we've got Wolf K here. Did I say Nick Muller already? There's Arctic. He says, no BS. It's cold as F in Pennsylvania. It's above freezing. What are you moaning about there, man? You pilots, you're so used to being, up at high altitude, pressurized cabins, comfy seats, drinking your coffee. It's not cold. It's 43. Yesterday was actually quite nice. Beautiful here in Pennsylvania for a February day especially. Cyber Rags is back. Welcome, Cyber Rags, in from Peter Maritzburg. All right. Idaho Garden Girl is here. And Allison Johnson, Ron Funderspol, welcome Ron, in from Bloemfontein. Slippery Pickle, all right. Dusty is here. Helen Rich, hello Helen. Janssen van Rensburg. George is in. Hey George. Slippery Pickle and Dylan Combrick, I already mentioned. Allison Johnson, did I miss Allison? If I did, I apologize. I think I've caught everyone in the chat. If I missed you, it wasn't intentional oversight. Just happened to not see you. So welcome back to the program, folks. Let's get into the news here and talk about what's going on. As we see a sunny day here in Pennsylvania. Let's see if we can beat yesterday's almost near record from my house. I've had one other day of 29. That was the first day we ever generated power from solar panels on this roof back in November 2nd. That was 29.6, I think it was. Yesterday was 29.3. Wow. And this is wintertime. If I could consistently get over 20 kilowatt hours per day in wintertime, imagine what I'll get in the summertime when the sun is up at 6 and it goes down at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. That should be some nice stuff. All right. Let's go ahead and get into the news. Whew, Joe Biden won it big in South Carolina. Hardly surprised. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to tell you now is not exactly news to South Africans, and it won't shock them, but guess what? Stage 3 load shedding is back all week. Yep, Eskom, the incompetent parastatal owned and run, managed by the incompetent kleptocracy known as the African National Congress, or as I prefer to call them, the angry, naughty children who are incapable of governance because they're more interested in self-enrichment. Well, once again, load shedding from this incompetent body. Power utility Eskom has announced that load shedding will increase to stage 3 for the upcoming week. Will continue at this level until further notice. Wow. It took place at 2 a.m. today and will continue until further notice. Wow. So you can get your schedule going to businesstech.co.za and you can find your city. So for instance, if you live in eThekwini down there in Durban, we pull this up, give it a second there. And once it comes up, we'll take a look and see what it says about load shedding. There you go. Here's the new schedule for eThekwini taking effect. All right. Blocks have been given to 2 designations, yada, yada, yada. City has 120 substations. Not all were badly affected by disasters. Yeah, anyway, there's a load shedding. Isn't it sad that you have to get a schedule of when your utility will not provide power for you? That is not a successful country. That is a failed state. That is a failed state. South Africa. The Democratic Alliance claims success vice or against the ANC in getting folks registered over the weekend. The DA says it outperformed the ANC in a race to register voters this weekend. DA says voter registration is going its way. Turnout has been high in DA strongholds, but low in ANC areas. The stakes are too high to stay home this election. This is South Africans' last chance to make sure they are registered and ready to help rescue South Africa. This from John Steenhuisen, leader of the Democratic Alliance. Party elections head Greg Krumbach said the bold conclusion is based on simple logic anyone can understand. You can attach the registration and read registration figures in each voting district to the voter turnout in the previous election and work out the share of the registrations into votes one can expect to receive. In a practical sense, if there's a voting district in Sandton and in 2019 the DA got 80% of the votes, if there were 100 new registrations and re-registrations, you can say fairly reliably that 80 must have been for DA and the rest for the ANC. So he's claiming that they're doing well in the 23,500 voting districts across South Africa, outperforming the ANC. Well, South Africa's public protector makes an obvious statement. Here's Captain Obvious herself making the most blatantly obvious statement. The public protector warns that South Africa is becoming a welfare state. Really? Koleka Khaleka. Let me give you a little newsflash there, young lady. It is a welfare state. It has been a welfare state. Not at risk of becoming a welfare state when half the population lives on public assistance, more than half. Well, then you've got a problem. Absolutely. Public protector advocate Koleka has sounded a warning about the potential of South Africa becoming a welfare state with ever-increasing number of people who rely on social grants. It's already there, sweetheart. She said South Africa could not be proud that millions of its people depended on the government's social security system. But the odd thing is the African National Congress proudly proclaims to impoverished black South Africans that, hey, we brought you SASSA grants, we brought you grants, we give you money, we make you live in poverty. Well, they don't say that last sentence, but we give you the money. And if you don't vote ANC, the racist opposition will take away your grants. The ANC is proud that it's impoverished millions of black South Africans. Ladies and gentlemen, the number of black South Africans living in abject poverty today is arithmetically, if not exponentially larger than it was under the racial regime of the National Party. Fact. South Africa in 1994 had just 34 million residents. Today it has 63 million people living there, plus millions of undocumented criminal alien invaders. The number of people living in poverty today, especially those who are black and white, is exponentially higher than it was when the National Party was running the country. Yes. Over 18 million people receive old age, disability, child support, foster care grants, and another 8 million receive the SASSA grant, the Social Relief of Distress grant, the fraudulent scam cooked up to cover the ANC's backside while they destroyed tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of jobs and collapsed tens of thousands of businesses in their Rona scam of 2020, 2021. So 18 and 8 is 26 million. That's who gets the money. But that doesn't tell you how many people are supported by welfare. Because typically, a woman who gets a grant has 3 or 4 children in her home, so you can take that number and at least double it. Really? 18 and 8 is 26? That'd be 52 million people living in poverty. It's not quite that high. But it's over 40 million South Africans living in abject poverty. And this is not because of Jan van Riebeck. This is not because of the racist regime, the historically disadvantaged. No, this is because of inept, corrupt, kleptocratic policies and racist policies from the African National Congress who have destroyed the industrial sector, who have destroyed the service industry, who have destroyed the educational system, who have destroyed the high-quality universities in South Africa with their wokeism, with their race hustling, with their kleptocracy, with their patronage network, hiring incompetent people who are loyal, vice people who are capable. Look no further than Eskom or any other failing parastatals to get that answer. 26 million people receiving welfare grants in South Africa. That is nearly half the population getting money, not to mention the dependents whom they support. South Africa is a welfare state. It is a failed state. Well, Air Force Squadron 22 came under fire in the DRC. Squadron 22's heroic pilot evasive actions saved the day. Sergeant Divin Adams, Major Yanni Augustine, and Major Harvey Strauss on Friday in the hospital in Goma after Augustine's surgery. Had it not been for Air Force 22 squadron commanders who employed desperate evasive tactics on Friday morning as rebel gunfire ripped through the Oryx he was piloting, everyone on board would have probably crashed in the DRC. Shooting by the rebels, the M23 forces, almost completely severed the finger of Major Yanni Augustine, 39 years of age, and one of his legs full of shrapnel. And left one of his legs full of shrapnel. You can see the holes in the fuselage of that helicopter right there. That's where the pedals are, where he's at. So those holes ripped through there and obviously hit him in the leg. 43 shots hit the Oryx from the side and from below and the main rotor. The shots to the floor hit the medical orderly in the side and disabled one hydraulic system. With him in the Oryx were co-pilot Major Harvey Strauss, flight engineer Sergeant Divin Adams, medical staff, and an Indian patient who was part of the medical evacuation. This was a medical evacuation, aero medevac, of a wounded or injured person. And they were shot at by rebels. These aren't rebels. These are criminals. These are war criminals who shoot helicopters conducting medical aero evacuation. This person should be hunted down and put behind bars. But of course, that never happened. It is the Congo. A medical orderly, Sergeant Mahalala, was seriously wounded in the side when a bullet struck him below his bulletproof vest after entering through the floor. His lungs were badly injured and he was immediately taken to a large hospital in Nairobi. Although most of the salvo was fired as the rebels struck the underside, it was hit at least 43 times. The hydraulic system that controls the lowering of the undercarriage was damaged and fluid was leaking out. This meant that the injured Augustine had to fly back to Goma himself. By the time he and his crew were on the ground, he was apparently already lightheaded from loss of blood. He underwent surgery at the military hospital in Goma to save his finger and remove the shrapnel from his leg. It's not known how the other patient is faring that went to Nairobi. You can see the cockpit there. See the damage done. One of the shots hit the steering stick. That nearly took off his finger. Incident comes shortly after the Southern African Development Community's regional force began deploying in the east of the DRC. Yes. South Africa has 5 Oryx helicopters in the Congo, but only 2 crews because they're incompetent and inept. Not the pilots, but the Air Force, and underfunded. With Augustine out of action, this means there's now only 1 Oryx available for operations along with the provisional forces of Malawi, Tanzania, and South Africa. There are no other aircraft available for the force that's there. Wow. Well, no good deed goes unpunished. Man nearly lost his finger in his life, and the crew as well. You get the politicians you voted for. So says Helen Zille, the executive of the Democratic Alliance. Except that's not true, is it, Helen? That's not true. And I invite Helen Zille to come back on the program to explain to us what she's talking about here. She did once upon a time offer to come in my program, but she hasn't come on. So Helen Zille says that you get the politicians you vote for, except in South Africa, that's simply not true. You get the politicians that political parties decide you get. That's what you get. You don't get to vote for people by name. Nobody votes for John Steenhuisen. Nobody votes. His party puts him at the top of their list, and he gets a guaranteed seat in Parliament. Nobody votes for Cyril Ramaphosa. He's at the top of his party's list, and they put him in power. You don't get the politicians you vote for. That's a fraudulent statement, Helen Zille. She urges South Africans to register to vote in a make-or-break election. Well, she's right about that. You should go register to vote, and it is a make-or-break election. But you don't get the politicians you voted for. DA heavyweight Helen Zille believes a single vote can make or break this year's general election and has cautioned voters that you get the politicians you deserve because it is the politicians you voted for. Except that is factually untrue, Helen. Factually untrue. This brilliant politician is a misleading statement, unfortunately. He said, we also can't take it for granted for one single minute this election could literally turn on a single vote here and there. It's for that reason that every single person who wishes to have a new government to rescue our country needs to take personal responsibility, get out there and do their bit. The point of democracy is you don't leave things to the politicians, except in South Africa, you don't vote for politicians, so you're kind of screwed. But she is right in her sentiment about getting out to vote. Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address is likely just to be more empty promises. This story by Davi Bunzaya in City Press, and he lists a bunch of promises that Ramaphosa has failed on. On 16th February 2018, when he first took over, he said he'd have a smaller cabinet. There were 35 members at the time with 37 deputies. But today there's still 30. Each one has a deputy. Germany with 80 million people plus 83 million people has only 15 cabinet ministers. Japan with 125 million people only has 19 cabinet ministers. And in 2019, he promised that ESCOM be split into 3 entities. That is yet to happen, but that's a promise most of us don't want to happen because it's an idiotic proposal. He promised a productive economy. South Africa's economy is going off a cliff. In 2019, in June, he said high-speed trains in smart cities. The trains that they have now can't even run, let alone smart trains. South Africa's current stable of trains can't even run. The tracks are stolen. So how can he get smart trains? On February 2020, he promised urgent action by government entities, but debt continues to pile up. Wow. He promised to be a bureaucracy hero, but the bureaucracy of South Africa is worse now than it was under his predecessor. And he promised a social contract within 100 days. 724 days later, there is no social contract. Cyril Ramaphosa is a patent liar. He's in the same field as Joseph Robinette Biden. These are people who simply lie and pander to voters to tell them what they want to hear and then do not accomplish it in office. That is who they are, and that's what they're all about. Well, Juju says that KZN is the battleground. eThekwini, Durban, and KwaZulu-Natal will be where the EFF puts its cards on the table to try to wrest control and become the top party. But let me make a not-so-bold prediction. The EFF will not be the top party, not be the top vote getter anywhere in that province. They will not win eThekwini. They will not become the top vote getter in KwaZulu-Natal. Not going to happen. Sorry, buddy. You and your little prison suit wearing clowns are not going to pull it. He says the eThekwini Metro is the most corrupt. Well, aside from maybe the EFF, that's probably the most true statement we've seen from him. EFF President Julius Malema says the Red Berets are going all out to win KZN in the upcoming election. He sees KZN as a perfect battleground to undermine the ANC in their bid to unseat the governing party. Malema visited registration centers in Durban where he spoke to large crowds as well as small groups of party activists positioned outside the stations. KwaZulu-Natal has a big voter population that's going to be a decider. Remember, if you want to win national elections, you have to win Gauteng, KZN, and the Western Cape. Now, the ANC know that Gauteng is gone. It's non-negotiable. Well, Juju may be right about that. The coalition will wrest control of Gauteng from the ANC. They're also going to lose the Western Cape. That's 2 provinces that will be outside their control. And KZN will likely no longer be in the ANC's control as the IFP, the DA, and others fight to wrest control. The EFF may indeed have a role there. A Cape Town woman attacked on the beach while walking in Camps Bay. Homeless children attacked and robbed a woman walking Camps Bay beachfront at 6 o'clock on Saturday. Western Cape Police spokesperson Warrant Officer Joseph Swatboy told News 24 that Camps Bay Police were informed of the incident, but the complaint was yet to register as a case. The complainant, she hasn't registered a case, and she was transported to a nearby hospital for medical treatment. Wow, they're asking for her to open a case. Ward Councilor Nicola Joel said the woman was stabbed in the arm during the attack while walking around the beachfront. A group of young people surrounded her and attacked her and stole her belongings. My goodness. In broad daylight, being stabbed on a beach. Sick. Well, South Africa and its government don't take threats to the country seriously. They waste their time going for the International Court of Justice with a bogus, fraudulent claim about genocide in Israel, in Gaza. But they're not bothered by the fact that computer networks, government networks in South Africa are not protected. News 24 does another public service by revealing the number of cybersecurity people working in the South African government. Now, South Africa has a lot of state employees. How many people do you think work in cybersecurity in South Africa? There are people. As digital attacks grow, only 64 South African civil servants are focused on cybersecurity. Can you believe that? Just 64 civil servants doing that. That's absolutely insane, folks. Huh. That's all there is. Out of 1.2 million civil servants in South Africa, the government only puts 64 people against this serious concern. It has just 4,500 civil servants working in the information technology sector, and of them, just 64 work in cybersecurity. We have more privates and specialists working in cyber command in the U.S. military than that. Just one little branch of the U.S. government. Namibia's President Hage Geingob has passed away at the age of 82 after recently being diagnosed with cancer, or at least recently revealed to the public. Geingob, a longtime stalwart of the communist Southwest Africa People's Organization, was a key figure in its formation, its turning to terrorism and combat in 1966, and its failed campaign to win independence for Namibia, which was a consequence of the end of the Cold War in South Africa, granting independence to Namibia as its mandate had expired from the League of Nations. Hage Geingob was a trained educator, fled then Southwest Africa for Bechuanaland, also known as as Botswana, in the 1960s, and stayed there for a bit before he went off to Philadelphia, where he studied at Temple University, and then went to New York City, where he earned a master's degree in international relations. He also earned a bachelor's degree from Fordham, and then he went on to earn a PhD in 1971 from Leeds University in the United Kingdom. Yeah, so Hage Geingob, who rose to the rank of prime minister, then was dumped from office, and was given a ministerial position, then was prime minister again, then eventually became president with an 87% overwhelming majority, but then his increasingly unpopular reign led to just a 56.3% of the vote in the re-election in 2019. This year, Namibia holds elections and replacing president. Now the president has passed away, and we move forward. Hage Geingob, dead at the age of 82. Vice President Nangola Mumba takes over the country until presidential parliamentary elections at the end of the year. And there's your succession. A caretaker president until the end of the year. The ANC moans its fellow traveler, Kami, passing. Ramaphosa mourns the death of Namibia's President Hage Geingob, a comrade in struggle, a fellow communist and hater of liberty. Condolences have been streaming in following the death of Namibian President Hage Geingob, who died early today in a Windhoek hospital, suffering from cancer. President Ramaphosa said he was deeply saddened by Geingob's passing, but not by the death of 82 South Africans each and every day. On behalf of the government and the people of South Africa, President Ramaphosa extends deep condolences to the government and people of Namibia, and especially First Lady Madam Monica Geingob, his third wife, and the immediate and extended family. Ramaphosa also extended sympathies to acting Namibian President Nangolo Mumba, the cabinet and leadership, and members of SWAPO, the Commie Party, ruining Namibia, which has such great potential. Well, Botswana has denied Starlink a license to operate in Botswana, thereby denying Botswana access to high-speed internet on a reliable basis from satellites, just like South Africa. The government of Botswana made mealy-mouthed allegations and claims that the submission was not done properly, yet they didn't work with Starlink to ensure that they bring this valuable service to people in rural communities, remote locations like the Kalahari. Botswana has denied approval for Elon Musk's Starlink to operate in the country, and it was going to launch in the fourth quarter of this year, but no longer. To operate in Botswana, entities like Starlink are required to pay an application fee of 5,600 pula, an annual license fee of 386,000 pula, about $28,500, and 3% of their revenue. Starlink's operation in Africa has not been all rosy, especially in places like South Africa. Starlink submitted its application to launch in May of 2023, but the regulator found the company did not provide all the necessary information. An insider from Botswana Communication Authority revealed there were issues regarding missing requirements of the application, which were identified and pointed out, and they're yet to respond to the issues. To operate in Botswana, Starlink must pay the annual fee of 5,600, an annual license fee of 386,000 pula, and 3% of operating revenue. Only 40% of Africa's 1.3 billion population has access to the internet, and Starlink was going to make this available for a lot of people in rural Botswana who couldn't get it. Well, hopefully Starlink can sort out their application and Botswana can work with them to bring this relief to rural Botswana, particularly in the Kalahari and the Okavango. Israel's firebrand, who's pushing the government to the right. Itamar Ben-Gvir spells out his plan for reselling Gaza during a rare interview and says Trump would be better for Israel than President Biden. As Israel and the U.S. wrestle over a deal to free the remaining hostages, the biggest obstacle will be a media-savvy lawmaker who is becoming a lightning rod for the far right. Itamar Ben-Gvir has made a name for himself since becoming Israel's national security minister last year, partly by declaring Jews to be the rightful owners of the land in Israel. He is calling for the settlement of Gaza by Jews. This is an own goal that's not necessary in the midst of a conflict, and this guy needs to shut his mouth because he's not helping the situation. He's inflaming it. Hamas is set to respond to Gaza hostage deal as the Israeli Defense Force strikes Khan Yunis. Infighting amongst Hamas's highest ranks reportedly led to delays in a ceasefire, and Benjamin Netanyahu says we will not agree to any deal and not at any price. We will not end the war before we complete all its goals, the elimination of Hamas, the return of all our hostages, and ensuring Gaza will no longer pose a threat to Israel. Interesting. To achieve the objective, the IDF claims they've already destroyed 17 of Hamas's 24 battalions and that the remainder of the forces were in southern Gaza. So, purification operations are what the Israelis are calling this to get rid of Hamas. 17 of 24 battalions destroyed. That's the first we've seen of any indication of success or failure by Israeli forces there. Turkey is making noise about stepping into the region militarily. This is not a good outcome. The Ottoman Empire reigned over this area for a long period of time. This is not something folks need. Turkey is ready to become a peace guarantor for Palestine through military presence. Wow. Military humanitarian presence. So they want to put troops in Gaza? Is that what Turkey is saying? Well, that is not a good thing. Turkey also, of course, has suppressed its own population, particularly the Kurds in Turkey, and not exactly a neutral arbiter when it comes to actions. Its biased position in Somalia and Ethiopia should make it pretty clear that Turkey is not the actor we want to see in this role. They are not the actor we want to see in this role. My goodness. More nonsense taking place. Well, the Wall Street Journal reveals why there has been no ceasefire. It's not because of Israel. Infighting among the highest ranks of the terrorist organization Hamas has led to delays in a ceasefire and hostage release deal that is currently on the table. Hamas's top leaders are arguing about the proposed ceasefire and hostage deal, forcing it to be pushed further and further down the road, according to the Wall Street Journal, citing sources familiar with the negotiations. Hamas leader Yahweh Sinwar, as well as other leaders in the terrorist organization, are allegedly ready and willing to sign off on a proposed proposal to stop fighting in Gaza for 6 weeks in exchange for the freeing of Israeli hostages. The organization's exiled political leaders are demanding more concessions and want to negotiate a permanent ceasefire. Well, so once again, the Palestinians are the reason why the war is continuing. They refuse to reach a peace agreement. Well, meanwhile, Pakistan is just going bat crap crazy. Lawfare being practiced against its former prime minister, just like lawfare is being practiced against the former president of the United States, Donald John Trump. Former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan and his wife Bushra Khan were sentenced to 7 years in prison and fined yesterday by a court that ruled their 2018 marriage broke the law. Khan, 71 years of age, has in recent days been sentenced to 10 years for leaking state secrets and 14 years along with his wife for illegally stealing state gifts. His representatives say he will launch appeals in all 3 cases. It's not immediately clear if his various sentences would run concurrently. Khan is in prison, and while his wife will serve her sentence at their hilltop mansion in nearby Islamabad. He already faces 10-year disqualification from holding public office. Wow. With the way these trials are being conducted, there will be a huge question mark on the February 8th elections. This is a test case for Pakistan's higher judiciary. The couple were each fined $1,800. Bushra was accused of not completing the waiting period mandated by Islam called Iddat after divorcing her previous husband and marrying Khan. My goodness. Wow. So, Sharia. People say there's no reason to fear Sharia. Well, there you go. It's being misused to attack a former prime minister. Well, Pope Francis, the Argentinian boob, is facing a revolt within the Catholic Church because of his idiotic utterances. Pope Francis' rebellion grows as 90 Catholic figures sign a scathing letter. A group of 90 Catholic clergymen, scholars, and authors have published a joint letter to all cardinals and bishops urging them to oppose a Vatican document approved by Pope Francis, the boob, that allows priests to bless same-sex unions. In the letter, the Catholic conservatives say that Fiducia Supplicans, a Vatican doctrine released on December 18th and signed by this boob, would lead to the blessing of objectively sinful relationships. They add that the cardinals and bishops should forbid immediately the application of this document in your diocese. Those who signed the open letter include Gil Bail, a member of the Fellowship of Catholic Scholars, Dr. Regis Martin, professor of theology at Franciscan University Steubenville, and Reverend Robert Sirocco, the president of the Catholic St. John Henry Newman Institute in Michigan. The letter was published on Life Site News, a media outlet dedicated to promoting the great importance to society of traditional Judeo-Christian moral principles. Wow. There's a petition there. It's already received 21,000 signatures. The Argentine boob is still in charge of the Vatican, and he is undermining the Catholic faith. Well, France, stunned by their shocking loss at the Stade de France against Ireland on Friday afternoon. Victory over France on Friday was Ireland's biggest Six Nations win on French soil. There's no hiding place in the French media's post-mortem following France's record-breaking defeat to Ireland. Oh, in Marseille. That wasn't in Stade de France. It was in Marseille? Okay, no wonder it looked weird. Players and coaches firmly in the crosshairs, and arguably none more so than head coach Fabien Galtier. Under the headline, Galtier strongly marked by the spanking inflicted on the Blues. Fabien Galtier likes to play with the press, sometimes inexhaustible, often unfathomable. He masters the oratory art of the press conference where he enjoys delivering his messages. Friday evening in the bowels of the Velodrome Stadium, extinguished by the Irish, the coach of the Blues gave a rare image of a coach without response. Stunned, shaken, rehearsed. The French are in disarray, according to the Irish Times. Ireland crushing France in the Six Nations. Well, Sinn Féin, a political party with a terror background. Northern Ireland gets its first Sinn Féin prime minister, or first minister in historic ship, After 2 full years without a functioning government, Northern Ireland's parliament buildings opened their doors yesterday and lawmakers returned to work, and one of their first acts was to name Sinn Féin's Michelle O'Neill as first minister. Prime minister, essentially. O'Neill, 47, is Northern Ireland's first nationalist leader from a party that wants North and South to come together someday as a single country. Entering the Great Hall outside the Assembly, O'Neill was the only politician to be applauded. After her selection as first minister, she called this a historic day, which represents a new dawn. She added that such a day would ever come would have been unimaginable to her parents and grandparents. To the Assembly, O'Neill emphasized that she would be the first minister for all, including Unionists and Republicans, Protestants and Catholics, those who want a united Ireland and those who want to remain British forever. To all of you who are British and Unionists, your national identity, culture, and traditions are important to me. None of us are being asked or expected to surrender who we are. Our allegiances are equally legitimate. Let's walk to this two-way street and meet one another halfway. Interesting. Earlier in the week, Mary Lou McDonald, Sinn Féin's president and leader of the opposition, declared that Irish unity was within touching distance. Wow. So we're going to hot up Ireland once again with this nonsense. Pretty scary stuff there, folks. Pretty scary stuff what's happening in Northern Ireland. Sinn Féin, with a terrible history. Terrible history. 150,000 demonstrators in Berlin against the extreme right. 150.000 Demonstranten in Berlin. Auch am diesem Wochenende demonstrierten Bürger in ganz Deutschland gegen Rechtsextremismus. In Berlin ist der Andrang rund um den Reichstag besonders groß. Ja, okay. Demonstrations gegen Rechtsradikalismus. Here you go. On Friday, the 2nd of February, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the 5th of February. These are where demonstrations have taken place or were scheduled to take place throughout Germany in virtually every province, including in the east where there's a strong far-right position. Interesting. No demonstrations against far-left state overreach, suppression of speech, criminal behavior of the government, but against right extremists. I guess that's what they fear. They love government running their lives and destroying it and picking winners and losers. If that works for you, Germany. At least 46 people dead in Chile as forest fires move into heavily populated areas in the central part of the country. Intense forest fires burning around a densely populated area of central Chile have caused at least 46 deaths, Chile's president said Saturday evening, and officials said at least 1,100 homes have been destroyed. In a nationally televised address, President Gabriel Boric warned that the death toll could worsen as 4 large fires burn in the region of Valparaiso, where firefighters have struggled to reach the most threatened neighborhoods. Boric urged Chileans to cooperate with rescue workers. If you are told to evacuate, don't hesitate to do it. The fires are advancing fast, and climatic conditions have made them difficult to control. There are high temperatures, strong winds, and low humidity. Saturday, 92 forest fires were burning in the center and the south of the country, where temperatures have been unusually high this week. Bad news for Chile. Well, excitement is building. We may be finding evidence of life on Mars. Yeah, I'm not making this up, folks. This is a real story. That's right. Ground-penetrating radar reveals eons of environmental changes and offers hope that soil samples hold traces of life. Ground-penetrating radar on NASA's Mars Perseverance rover has confirmed that the Jezero crater, formed by an ancient meteor impact just north of the Martian equator, once harbored a vast lake and river delta. Over eons, settlement, deposition, and erosion within the crater shaped the geologic formations visible on the surface today. The discovery of lake sediments reinforced the hope that traces of life might be found in soil and rock samples collected by Perseverance. And here you see an animation of them using ground-penetrating radar running through the Jezero crater. If life ever existed on Mars, the Perseverance rover's verification of lake sediments at the base of Jezero crater reinforced the hope that traces might be found in the crater. Well, let's see if we find fossils or we find evidence of previous life on Mars. United States strikes back at Iran-sponsored terror groups, but not in Iran. U.S. strikes steer clear of Iran's red lines. Washington warns of further retaliation for the attack that killed U.S. soldiers, but has avoided raining casualties so far. U.S. strikes against Houthi rebels in Yemen continued on Sunday as the Biden regime pressed on with its effort to defend shipping lanes. But in a sign that Washington and Tehran are seeking to avoid direct confrontation, American strikes have not killed any Iranian forces so far in a separate set of strikes. Well, we'll see what happens. But Jackass Joe's administration is cowardly and does not know how to handle Iran, their friends. Well, speaking of Jackass Joe, Joe Biden rolls to victory in South Carolina in a corrupt primary conducted by the Democratic Party. 4 years ago, black voters in the state revitalized President Biden's political fortunes, but Saturday's repeat win is an uncertain measure of wider enthusiasm for his reelection. The election called by Associated Press shortly after polls closed gives Mr. Biden the first set of delegates required to claim the Democratic nomination at the party's convention in August. Mr. Biden won overwhelming majority of South Carolina Democrats with more than 96%, with 80% of the vote counted, dominating every county with more than 95% of the vote, including heavily black areas where black Americans foolishly vote for a racist to be president. It's just comical. It's comical. The man who is a racist against blacks, who forced the imprisonment of hundreds of thousands of black men and mandatory drug sentences. Joe Biden, no friend of the black community, gets voted in by people who vote against their best interest. It's just sad and actually kind of comical. Well, massive protest here in the United States. Take our border back. Convoy ends with rallies in 3 states over national security crisis. Hundreds of protesters gathered for prayer-filled rallies in 3 border states Saturday to demand an end to illegal migration, capping a cross-country convoy that dubbed itself God's Army as it rolled from Virginia to Texas. This is a national security crisis, organizer Scotty Sachs told a crowd of 200 in San Ysidro, California, at the first of 3 Take Our Border Back demonstrations in the Golden State, Arizona, and Texas. We have a human trafficking problem on the border in proportions we've never imagined. The United States is the largest sponsor of human trafficking, and that's not something we're proud of. In Texas, rally-goers at the Cornerstone Children's Ranch waved American flags and banners supporting former President Trump's 2024 campaign. Here you go. Take back our border rallies. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot USA. There you go. There you go. Group is relying on Give, Send, Go because, of course, the other crowdsourcing platform is an anti-American race-hustling piece of slime that shut down the accounts of Canadian truckers during their protest at the behest of the corrupt Canadian government. Well, the violence-plagued murder capital of America, Chicago, is the laughingstock of the world. Violence-plagued Chicago mocked for city council demanding Gaza ceasefire. Yeah, that's right. I'm not making it up, folks. Chicago has become the largest U.S. city to pass a resolution demanding a ceasefire in Gaza, prompting critics to ask, what about a ceasefire in the Windy City? Chicago led the nation once again in 2023 with 2,450 shootings, 617 homicides, an irony not lost on Israel supporters after the council voted 24-23 on Wednesday to support a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war, with Mayor Brandon, let's go Brandon, you moron Johnson, casting the tie-breaking vote. Instead of voting yesterday for a ceasefire in Gaza, and this is not cliche, they should have voted for the ceasefire on the streets of Chicago, said Amy Jacobson, co-host of The Morning Answer on 560 AM in Chicago. Today's vote is not only a slap in the face to the hostages held at the hands of terrorists abroad, but sends a clear message the city council and Chicago Democrats would rather do anything except their jobs. Former Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark wrote on Twitter, maybe Chicago City Council and Mayor think they'll have better results in Gaza than calling for a ceasefire on the violent streets of Chicago. Both will be ignored, however. These people are dopes. The Babylon Bee said Gaza votes for ceasefire in Chicago. They can't even get a ceasefire in their own city, but Chicago leaders have time to embrace their inner anti-Semitism, said Seattle conservative radio host Jason Rentz. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't this accomplish checks, notes, nothing? I mean, is there something I don't understand? Did Palestine specifically ask for their opinion on this? How about calling for a ceasefire in Chicago? Chicago, the joke of North America. What a sad situation. Well, Bank of America, which joined these... Oh, come on. Give me a break here. Bank of America... Foxes give me a hard time here. It's acting up. Bank of America, which had made a pledge along with the other major banks to destroy the energy sector in the United States by not financing loans to energy exploration and production with their fake green energy garbage, is lied to shareholders and investors because apparently their current annual statement backs away from not financing energy projects. Yeah. Well, jackass John Bolton, remember him? The neocon who led us into misery and the deaths of my colleagues in Iraq and Afghanistan. John Bolton, the loser neocon, who for some reason still has the attention of people, I don't know why, he backs Joe Biden's expletive-laden rip job on Trump. Now this treasonous little bastard here, John Bolton, who destroyed U.S. foreign policy, wasted our national treasure in the Middle East, and runs around running his mouth, was foolishly selected by Donald Trump to be in his cabinet. Ex-Trump White House advisor John Bolton said President Biden pretty well nailed former President Donald Trump's disposition. Politico recently reported that Biden in private called Donald Trump a sick F, and what a effing a-hole this guy is, while discussing his likely opponent in the upcoming presidential election. Mr. Bolton, the neocon who served as national security advisor for Mr. Trump from 2018 to 2019, was asked by CNN on Friday whether he shared the same feeling about the former president. Well, I think in personality terms, I think President Biden pretty well has it nailed. Yeah, well, Mr. Bolton, Nobody really gives a flying shit what you have to say. You're a neocon who caused the deaths of thousands of my brothers and sisters in arms and undermined our foreign policy and cost us billions, nay, trillions of dollars in foolhardy conflicts that were wholly unnecessary. Wholly unnecessary. Well, news out of South Dakota where Governor Kristi Noem is facing a backlash from the Ogalala Su, who are using politics to divide South Dakotans. You're hereby banished, Ogalala Su tribe president responds to Governor Noem's border address. Tensions continue to flare up following Governor Kristi Noem's speech Wednesday during a joint session in Pierre on the situation at the U.S.-Mexico border. The president of the Ogalala Su tribe, Frank Starr, comes out. What is he, gay? Frank Starr comes out. Issued a 4-page statement in response, pointing to Noem's use of the terms invasion, saying that what is happening at the southern border doesn't constitute an invasion. Of course, he's wrong, and he's playing politics. And the statement is here. There you see it coming from them in Pine Ridge, South Dakota. The statement of the Ogalala Su tribal president, Frank Starr, comes out responding to South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem's border address. He would like to say that he's an honorably discharged U.S. combat Marine and served tours in the Gulf and Somalia, and currently serves as president of the Ogalala Su tribe, as well as chairman of the Great Plains Tribal Chairmen's Association. And he takes issue with what Kristi Noem said about her sending troops to Texas. And this is all political drivel, and this man is a disgrace to the Ogalala Su community. Shame on him. Now, for her part, Kristi Noem says in her first year as governor, she went to the tribal reservation to meet with people, and they were lying about her. And she met people there who said, well, you keep coming back. You seem to be interested in us. But then they banned her from there because they lied about her. They lied about her positions, these politically active Ogalala Su leaders, misleading the Sioux tribe. Anyway, shame on them. Shame on them. Well, Chicago, the murder capital of America, in the midst of all this stuff. The Chicago Tribune. I want to show you how fake news propagates. This is a true story. It's factual, but it shouldn't be front page news. This should not be front page news. The world is falling apart. The country is in crisis. We have real problems. And this is the story that the Chicago Tribune puts at the top of the fold on its front page. Chicago on track to install 4 new public restrooms. 4 toilets. The city of millions on Lake Michigan, Chicago, the commodities trading market of the world, is front page news, 4 toilets. Rebecca Johnson runs this story. For many homeless people in Chicago, finding a restroom often requires walking a long distance. Many restrooms and businesses are only available to customers, as they should be, and public ones are few and far between. It's definitely humiliating, embarrassing. Unsheltered people, that's homeless, see it as a necessity. An outreach worker told the Chicago Coalition. Yes. Well, Chicago's top page news is getting toilets on the street. Wow. Former Trump official Mike Gill shot in the head in another racial crime, more black on white violence. A former Trump official shot in the head has now died in hospital. Former Trump official Mike Gill dead days after suspect's Washington, D.C. carjacking spree. Former Trump official Mike Gill was shot by a carjacker Monday in D.C., died from his wounds on Saturday. It's with profound sadness I wish to inform the community of the passing of my husband, Mike Gill. He served as Trump's chief operating officer of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. The father of 3 was picking up his wife from work when 28-year-old Artel Cunningham got inside his parked car outside an office building on K Street and shot him in the head at 5:45 in the evening. K Street is 2 blocks from the White House, ladies and gentlemen. A racial murder 2 blocks from the White House in broad daylight. Well, it wasn't broad daylight. 5:45, it's getting dark at that point. Shot him in the head when he was picking up his wife. I've walked in that very spot many, many times. There is Artel Cunningham, the murderer. There's the man who was murdered. After the shooting, Cunningham fled on foot. He tried to steal another vehicle at 7 p.m. on 3rd Street, and 10 minutes later, he fatally shot 35-year-old Alberto Vasquez and drove off in his car. So he murdered 2 people. He stole 2 more cars before he allegedly opened fire at a D.C. police officer on I-295 and a Maryland state trooper who was assisting a disabled vehicle along I-95 in Laurel at 2:30 in the morning. No officers were injured. At 4:30 a.m., he was shot and killed by New Carrollton police officers after he allegedly came at them with 2 guns in Prince George's County. Wow. Mr. Gill is survived by his wife and 3 children, Sean, Brian, and Anika. This is sick. This is sick. Sick. 2 blocks from the White House, K Street. Well, we've heard about the academic misconduct of the likes of none other than Claudine Gay, a person who's less qualified to be the president of Harvard University than I am. No academic work published in any books. She has 0 books published. Well, Claudine Gay is not the only academic fraud out there. There are a whole bunch of them. And they're being revealed now that attention is being focused on the fake scientists, the fake science, the junk science, the fake PhDs. So many people need to have their PhDs rescinded, and universities need to be sanctioned and have oversight over their failure to uphold academic standards. A 32-year-old blogger's research forces Harvard Medical School to affiliate to retract 6 papers and correct 31 others. Allegations of research fakery at a leading cancer center have turned a spotlight on scientific integrity and the amateur sleuths uncovering image manipulation in published research. Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, a Harvard Medical School affiliate, announced January 22nd it's requesting retractions and corrections of scientific papers after a British blogger flagged problems in early January. The blogger, 32-year-old Sholto David of Wales, is a scientist sleuth who detects cut-and-paste image manipulation in published scientific papers. He's not the only hobbyist poking through pixels. Other champions of scientific integrity are keeping research and science journals on their toes. They use special software, oversized computer monitors, and their eagle eyes to find flipped, duplicated, and stretched images along with potential plagiarism. Wow. On January 2nd blog post, David presented suspicious images from more than 30 published papers by 4 Dana-Farber scientists, including CEO Lori Glimler and CEO William Hahn. Many images appear to have duplicated segments that would make the scientists' results look stronger. The papers under scrutiny involve lab research on the workings of cells. One involved samples from bone marrow of human volunteers. The blog post included problems spotted by David and others previously exposed by sleuths on PubPeer, a site that allows anonymous comments in scientific papers. Student journalists at the Harvard Crimson covered the story on January 12th, followed by reports in other news media, sharpening attention on the recent plagiarism investigation involving former President Claudine Gay. Well, these are just like the British researchers who faked climate data to mislead the people about global climate change. Remember that? Those scumbags, they're all still working in universities. The situation has become appalling, says The Guardian. Fake scientific papers push research credibility to the crisis point. Yeah, follow the science, believe the science, by people who don't believe in science and undermine it. Last year, 10,000 sham papers had to be retracted by academic journals. Experts think this is just the tip of the iceberg. Tens of thousands of bogus research papers being published in journals, an international scandal that is worsening every year. Scientists warned. Medical research is being compromised, drug development hindered, and promising academic research jeopardized thanks to a global wave of sham science sweeping laboratories and universities. Last year, the annual number of papers retracted by research journals topped 10,000 for the first time. The situation has become appalling, said Professor Dorothy Bishop of Oxford. The level of publishing of fraudulent papers is creating serious problems for science. In many fields, it's becoming difficult to build up a cumulative approach to the subject because we lack a solid foundation of trustworthy findings, and it's getting worse and worse. The practice has spread to India, Iran, Russia, former Soviet Union, and Eastern European states, with paper mills supplying fabricated studies to more and more journals as increasing numbers of young scientists try to boost their careers with claiming false research experience. Well, there you go, folks. There you go. Follow the science. But the scientists are all frauds. These people are all frauds. So what science are we supposed to follow, folks? Unbelievable. New York police officers are fed up with Alvin Bragg, the corrupt, well, in their view, corrupt district attorney in New York, after he let the cop-beating criminal alien invaders go without bail. Police officers and other critics are slamming Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg for refusing to seek bail for the rowdy migrants arrested for allegedly being caught on camera attacking New York police cops in Times Square. Veteran police officers fumed to the Post Saturday that Bragg made a mockery of the entire justice system by letting 5 criminal alien invaders walk free after they were arraigned Wednesday on charges of second-degree assault on a police officer and obstruction of government administration in the shocking January 27th assault. Alvin Bragg just showed all New Yorkers the police department doesn't matter to him. Wow. What this does is open the window for all people to say we can beat up cops and there's nothing that's going to happen to us. A 25-year-old New York Police Department cop tore into the lefty prosecutor, saying his lack of action is a complete joke because the criminal alien invaders committed bail-eligible offenses. Wow. Unbelievable. That's the world we live in. Leftists allow society to collapse. Absolute total carnage and collapse. Ridiculous, folks. Well, thank you all for tuning in for the news today. We're not breaking away just yet, but I want to thank everybody for being here. It's been an interesting weekend. I hope that things are going well for you. Let me catch up on the chat over here, and we'll see what's been said in the interregnum. Where is my timestamp? This should be on automatically. I don't know why it does that. Right, so let me get back. So that's where we started. And Drunken Yoda's here. I missed Drunken Yoda earlier. Gerrit Janssen van Rensburg. Garrett is here. Now, water is the issue. What's this? No water for 12 days. Okay, and Drunken Yoda. I see Drunken Yoda. Dan Bailey's here. Hey, Dan, how are things out in the West, in the mountain region, the Rockies? Okay, what else you got there? Gus is in here. Jan Filion's made in. Juju, the runaway from Zimbabwe. Craig says, have you used any of the government website? They're all shocking. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about for the elections in South Africa? Sinette DeLong. Hey, Sinette, welcome back. I think it's been donkey years since we've seen you on here, if you're the same person. Christine's here. Welcome, Christine. And Chris Swanepoel. I think I missed Chris earlier. And what else we got here? John Jarvis. John, where you been? Starlink too expensive for me, so I'm not sure how poor people get on. It's too expensive for you, John, because you can't get it legally in South Africa. So you're paying for it in another place, and you're getting hit by exchange rate conversions. You're also getting hit by fees because you're paying roaming cost. If Starlink was available in South Africa, courtesy of ICASA, then you would be able to get it at a reasonable price. But it wouldn't be too expensive for you, John. It's expensive because you can only get it illegally in South Africa right now, in a roaming place. Christine says Starlink is excessively expensive. Frogfoot's $442 a month uncapped. Again, it's not available in South Africa legally, so the price you're paying is not the true price. Whole world is a basket case. Indeed it is. Patrick W's here. And another terrorist, Sinn Féin. Yep. What else? Ooh, come on. You guys just saying hi to each other. So RJ's here. Welcome you. Don't say gay. What, Claudine gay? Christine said, I got hijacked at Brooklyn Mall in 2005 on a Sunday afternoon. Drove around with me all night. Emptied my bank account. Left me in the car trunk after the car ran, I guess. Well, you're lucky to be alive. Thankfully, you're still alive. Never been back to Brooklyn Mall. I've been to Brooklyn Mall many, many times, but that parking garage is dodgy. It's not well lit. It's an awkward way to get in and out of there. Not a fan of that parking garage. Say what you want about South Africa, but after 3 months away, I cannot wait to go back home next week, says Arctic. Well, that's good. I'm sure family and friends are looking forward to your return. I wonder how many of the papers are genuinely malicious and how many are just incompetent. Most are just simply incompetent. Doesn't make any sense. They can't prove it. Don't follow the science. Okay. Coming in a bit late, been at my granddaughter's 9th birthday. Well, Marilyn, thanks for being here, and thanks. I hope you had a good time at your granddaughter's birthday celebration. It's good to see you again. And everybody, it's good to see you here. Thanks for tuning in on a Sunday. February 4th, 2024. Wow, nobody said anything about the fact that I'm wearing a shirt and tie today, not any rugby kit, no polo, no T-shirt. No one said anything. Starlink in the U.S. $120 a month and $600 for hardware. Yes, it's very expensive here, but it's cheaper in developing countries, much cheaper because we subsidize it. Roaming Starlink is $150 a month. There you go. There you go. I didn't say it was for poor people. I said it's available for rural communities. It's a dodgy parking lot. Yep, dark and scary, Christine. Exactly. That Brooklyn parking lot is dark and scary. And no matter which part of the building you go into, that's how it is. It's unfortunate. Sunday, so we assumed you went to church. Well, that's a fair guess. No more what? No more gay in education. That's funny, RJ. Yeah, there's no gay in education. Not at Harvard, anyway. Sue Walsh did mention at the beginning of the chat that I was wearing a tie. Thank you, Sue, for noticing. I'm sorry I missed your comment. Anyway. Yikes. I think the sun is gone. The clouds. No, the sun's still out there, but it's not generating anything yet. Now is when it should really start. It's at 4 kilowatt hour. That's half the capacity. So at 4 kilowatt hours. So we'll see where it goes from here. I got 6 right now. 6 generated. Erica says I'm looking dapper. Christine assumed I was at church. No, it's not church. I've got something else going on. Saw lots of people in town with ties on this morning. Well, they're all going to church, Arctic. That's why. Pennsylvania has very religious population. A lot of people of faith in this state. Can't tell you the number of times I've met people recently and said, I'll pray for you. I appreciate that. It's very kind of them. But several times people said that to me. Not because I'm in distress, but they're polite people, and I say they'll pray for you, which is really nice. A stunning day in the Cape today. I think Chris was rallying with a red tie. No, that wasn't me. That was someone else. I like this tie. It's one of my favorites. This is a Michael Kors, I think. Yeah, Michael Kors. It's a Michael Kors tie. Yeah, I got this one many, many years ago. Of course, when you wear a blue shirt with a red tie, that's kind of a power thing. Warwick Schultz says, was wondering if you have any info on what's happening in Mozambique at the moment. It's difficult getting information. I don't have a current source. I did have a source in Mozambique previously, but I don't have a current source that can give us an update on that. There's virtually no reporting on what's happening in Mozambique, but I'm sorry I don't have anything to update you, Warwick. But I do. I look like a preacher. John Brown. Yep. John Brown's an abolitionist. So I don't have any news on it, unfortunately, so I apologize for that. But, anyway, earlier I had my Make Speech Free Again sign up on the shelf. I took it down. But it was a beautiful night to arrive in PA. Yeah, it was lovely. The skies were clear. Visibility, I imagine Arctic was unlimited last night. You could have probably seen at least 40 miles last night, or as far as the human eye can see. Ceilings were non-existent. I don't know where the ceilings were. It must have been great flying weather yesterday for you. Pretoria is thought of as the Christian capital of the country. Is it really, Christine? I didn't realize that. Mm-hmm. And Helen says, you look very spiffy. Well, thank you for that, Helen. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Very kind of you. Power came back on a 610. It's gone out again. Gee, many crickets, Marilyn. That sucks. Sucks. Came on at 6, so it's not even an hour later and there's no power. Oh, SCOP. My goodness. By the way, folks, for those tuning in late, Namibia's President Hage Geingob has died from cancer at the age of 82 today. The former president passed away in office, is replaced by the vice president who will serve in a caretaker role until the elections scheduled for November this year in Namibia. Namibia has elections. USA has elections. Botswana has elections. South Africa has elections. It's a big election year for a lot of us, a lot of stuff on the table, a lot of concerns about what's happening, and people really, really need to get out and vote. Wherever you live, get out and vote. Make a difference. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem. That's the answer, folks. Dropping their 50-year contract from, what's this? I don't know what he's talking about there. Don't know what Patrick's talking about there. Anyway, Garrett says I look suave. Well, they call me Rico Suave. They call me Mr. Tibbs in the heat of the night. Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yep, another person who passed away last year. Goodness, Harry Belafonte. Wow. The whole world has elections. Well, a lot of the world certainly has elections this year, Slippery Pickle. Yeah, anyway, so when it comes to rugby, I see that Munster hung on for their victory. That was pretty cool. I think ANC minister lives near me because we do not have load shedding. That's a fair guess, Helen, that would be why you wouldn't have load shedding. They certainly do that intentionally. Oh, power from Cahora Bassa. That's what somebody was trying to say. Why are they doing that? Cahora Bassa is a major producer of electricity. Yeah, there are elections, major elections throughout the year, and we'll be keeping an eye on that as the year goes forward. Wow, we got a big audience today, folks. Wow, 87 people currently here. Thank you for that. That is super cool. Really glad to see so many people tuned in for the program today. And on a Sunday, of all things, a Sunday. Anyway, Alter Bridge, I didn't see here today, but Alter Bridge usually on. It's, wow, for him in Perth, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's actually not a bad time for him. Yep, 1 a.m., usually up at this hour anyway. I wonder, some people we haven't heard from. Andre Jacobs disappeared for a long time. Then he came back and after months. We also saw the Right Reverend Rawhide, who disappeared for a long time. They came back. Of course, they may be listening and just not commenting, and that is their prerogative. But we kind of miss Andre Jacobs in China and certainly miss the Right Reverend Rawhide. Remember, the Right Reverend Rawhide, this guy had a stroke. He had a stroke, and the same day, he was in the hospital watching the original channel. That was pretty impressive. RJ says, imagine we could force... Beckett Silly to release a daily press conference just naming the murder. Yeah, well, there you go. You know what should happen? And that's actually a good idea, RJ. Someone in South Africa, a civil advocacy group, I don't know, maybe Action Society or Action, whatever the Action to say, no, that's the political party. I think it's Action Society led by, what's his name there? I'm drawing a blank right now. They should just go and do a daily release today. Pumzile Mlange, murdered in Shoshavungwe. Neil du Plessis, murdered in Feldrev. You know, they should just go a list of all the South Africans, put as many photos as they can up every day and run through it. Ian Cameron. Thank you, Arctic. Ian Cameron. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Ian Cameron. Ian Cameron and his organization should do that every day. They should just run through the list of murdered South Africans. It doesn't have to be from the same day. They can go back a few days because it takes a few days to collect all the photos and all this stuff. They should just do it. Get the information from the police. They've got people that work with them all over the country and just start reporting these things. And if they can't do it at national level, start on a provincial level. Do it in Gauteng. Do it in the Western Cape today or Friday in the Western Cape. The following 14 people were murdered in Khayelitsha. Yep. In Mitchell's Plain. In wherever. Yep. Arctic says SAPS doesn't even have the names of people murdered. Yes, I'm aware of that, Arctic. Yep. So what you do is you say unnamed, information unavailable from incompetent police. That's what you do. And when you get the name later on, you repeat it. I mean, someone should do that. This is I mean, the carnage in South Africa in a single year is greater than you see in Gaza in a war. It's crazy. Crazy. Little Miss Know-It-All is here. Hey, good to see you again. Pleasure to have you join us once more. It's raining in Namibia. Lots of thunder. There you go. Thunder is awesome. As long as it doesn't hit you. Well, thunder never hits you. Lightning is what hits you. But I love thunder and lightning. I love it. It's good stuff. Come on, what's going on here? My system is not reporting. For some reason today, my solar is not doing updates fast enough. So anyway, up to 6.39 for today. Oh, I didn't realize, Erica, that you were unconscious for days when you had that stroke. Wow. Just as many victims never found. That's true, Jan Fion. People are made to disappear, and they find bodies later on. Yep. But the point is that someone like that group, Ian Cameron's group, ought to, I'm not picking on them, I'm not saying them, but someone like that group, if not them, should just every day do a press. Someone can come on and read through the grim statistics, the names, the bodies found, the locations, how people are murdered, bludgeoned, gang raped, and stabbed 47 times, decapitated, burned alive. Yep. All these things. People should know about the horror that's going on in South Africa. I don't have the resources or the information to do it, or I would do it. I would do it. I would make a whole separate channel. I call it ANC Legacy. That would be my channel, the African National Congress Legacy. But then I would never get back in South Africa. They wouldn't let me in. My dog matrix hates thunder. He always thinks the sky is going to fall on his head. Yeah, dogs and cats don't like thunder either. Oof. I used to have a cat, and he did not like thunder. Man, did not like thunder at all. Did not like thunder. It was not his cup of tea, to say the very least. Yep. 76 likes. Can we do a little better than that, folks? Come on, smash that like button. There's 88 people here. That was easy. Yeah. Yeah, no, we've heard the term unlived. Yep, that's another one that they use. Yep, unlived. Definitely a term they use. Yep. Anyway, I hope you guys are all well out there. Let me just take a check on a little something else here. I want to see something very quickly here, if it's happening. Just double checking something on the news here real quick. More strikes in the Middle East. Of course there's more strikes in the Middle East. Well, there's a super chat. Why do you look so dapper, sir? Well, I can't disclose, Patrick. Maybe a little ways down the road I might disclose it, but right now I cannot disclose it. What's going on? I did tell folks that I had a lot going on in life, lots of opportunities and things happening, so my cat doesn't mind thunder or lightning. Well, that's pretty cool, Chris Marie. Yeah. Patrick, thank you for your 14 Rand super chat. I'll disclose why I'm wearing a nice shirt at some point, but not today. Maybe a few weeks down the road. I'll let you know. Some things underfoot here. Yeah, you haven't heard unlived? I've heard that many, many times. Yeah. So, Patrick, I'm waiting for your super chat to show up. Again, YouTube is slow today. ANC will never allow that information to be freely available. Exactly, Marilyn. And if I did report on it, they would not let me in the country, I'm pretty sure. I don't doubt that for a heartbeat. Yeah, pretty sure they would do that. Gypsy Backpacker says another one. Another what? Another what? Super chat? I don't know. Is that what you're talking about? By the way, folks, I did a video earlier on Hage Geingob's passing. I don't know if that's of interest to anybody. Let me see if anybody's watched it. Maybe 32 would be my guess. 38. I was close. There's the super chat from Patrick. Thank you for the super chat. 74 cents after YouTube converts that from Rand. All right, Alfred E. Newman, asterisk and obliques with dog. Celebrity Pickle's other dog pretends to be afraid because the Jack Russell gets attention when he quivers. So he's just looking for attention. Arctic says, I have a date with the Army formal ball. No, well, if it was a formal ball, I'd be wearing a white shirt with a bow tie and my mess blues. That's what I'd be wearing. Yep. Maybe someday I'll wear that for you guys. I'll put it on so you can see it, see what it looks like. Pretty cool. Yep. No, I don't have a date with an Army ball. Nope, other stuff going on. You can all keep guessing. Keep you guessing. That's kind of fun. Anyway, that's kind of what's going on right now. So, yeah. Good to see The Usual Suspects here. It's like Kaiser Sose and The Usual Suspects. What a great movie that was, right? The Usual Suspects. I really enjoyed that movie. And it had me till the end. I didn't get what was going on until the very end. It was pretty wild. Yep. I remember it was used to storm in the Congo every day at the same time. Sweden investigates terrorist act near the Israeli embassy. Thank you for that, Christine. Let's check that out. News 24. Busa urges Ramaphosa to test the national health insurance constitutionality, says bill spells disaster in its current form. Well, of course it does. Yep. Netumbo Nandi Natwa becomes Namibia's first female vice president following King Gab's death. Whoop-de-doo! Who cares about first vice president? Give me a freaking break. So I don't see anything on News 24 about Sweden. Let me see if I can find it. I'll do a search here. Because remember, I don't get the same results you guys get because I have a different... Nope. Nothing there. Turkey approves Sweden's NATO membership. Nope, nothing there. So let me go see if it's on Google. Maybe it's on Twitter. Hey, Gerald Lazarus is here. Welcome, Gerald. How you doing? Nope. Must be a Twitter thing. It's not on the news yet. Arctic says he heard from a former Army helicopter pilot those balls are really just a dating event as every officer gets a +1 ticket. Well, it depends what sort of activity you're talking about. There's Army balls, and there usually are. You bring a significant other. You bring your spouse or you bring your a date. That's just the norm. That's a dining out or a ball. And then we have a dining in. The dining in is just the officers, no one else in their dress uniform. But I don't like dining ins because they get a little stupid. Are you quitting YouTube? No. Should I? Red ties are bad news? No, they're not. They're not bad news. Read it on Google, says Christine. Okay, well, I went to Google and I didn't find anything on it. So interesting. Maybe you're getting information quicker than I am through mine. Significant other, just other. No, a lot of people don't have significant others, so you just bring somebody or they just go stag. BRICS is growing. What a collective waste. Yes, BRICS is growing. They added a half a dozen states, none of which really bring anything to BRICS. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, BRICS is a joke. It's an acronym created by a American economist in 2001, 2003 timeframe, and it really means nothing. It has no treaty obligations. There's no mutual defense. There's no economic ties. No barriers or special privileges have been dealt with under BRICS by any of the countries. There's no multilateral agreement. There's nothing. It's just vaporware. It's all made up nonsense. All made up nonsense. Exactly. The single 50-year-old ladies in town fight for those +1 tickets. Well, I don't think a lot of the 20-year-olds are dating 50-year-old women. I'm just saying. I don't think that it is. Eddie Diager says, any trips planned to South Africa? Well, Eddie, funny you should ask. Yes, I do have a trip planned for the election when it's upcoming, but things are a little tight right now, cash-wise. I self-fund my travel, my journalism. I'll get a little bit of money from the Super Chats, but folks, that doesn't begin to cover my cost of anything. I'm able to do these through the generosity of people who provide free accommodation. Some people pay for a night here, a night there. Others welcome me into their guest houses and their homes and things like that. But that mitigates the cost, but it's still incredibly expensive to do this, particularly with the doubling of prices of everything in the past 2 years. So it's difficult for me to travel as much as I'd like to. I mean, I'm not independently wealthy, so I'm doing this on my dime to bring the world the news objectively. And yeah, it's just a little frustrating. Maryland, yes, I know that's there. In fact, Maryland, next time I might have to spend more time there with you guys several days instead of just a couple days, if it's okay, just to make the most of what's going on and spend, because the election's coming up, spend time in Gauteng. Anyway, so last year at this time, I was in South Africa. Remember that? Last year at this time, I was in South Africa. In fact, Steve Hofmeyer just had his concert at Velbedocht, and that's where I was at last year, at Velbedocht. And Steve called me up on stage, had me sing the Ballad of the Green Beret with him. Yep. Artie says, I'll get you the divorce, you bring the dollars. So you want me to pay for the divorce? Chris Wyatt, Carl Weathers passed. I covered that. That was Apollo Cree. Yep. I covered Carl Weathers passing. Yep. And I also watched the video that Sylvester Stallone did. What's going on with Panama with all these refugees? Paul, I haven't seen anything about Panama on the news anywhere. Okay. First one is free. That's how they get you. Yeah, that's right, Arctic. Yeah. Here's your free divorce. Now you're hooked. You want more? You got to buy them. You got to buy them. Erica is just giving 140 Rand super chat for my next trip to South Africa. Thank you, Erica. I appreciate that's very generous of you. Yes, Chris Marie, that's already been a year. And remember, on that trip, that was the trip, wasn't it, where it went to Tux for a game? I think that was the one, yeah. And then went to Durban for the Sharks versus, was it Ulster? I think it was Ulster. I'm trying to remember. Yep. Yeah. That was, it's been a year. It's been a year already. How fast that went. Also have to mention how dapper you are dressed. If you're asking for someone's hand, may the odds be in your favor. No, that's not why I'm dressed like this. No, not why I'm dressed like this. Got a cheap timeshare in Umhlanga Beach. E. coli included, no charge. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there's free E. coli. I think I'll pass on that. Myra's right arm is okay, just my right hand's an issue. Myra, I'm sorry to hear about that. All right, Marilyn says perfect. Thank you for that. Garrett loved the officers' ball, and Burschenschaften evenings were super organized. Women loved it. Very styling. Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan to become what's going on there? Jim Harbaugh to become the new Chargers head coach. So Jim Harbaugh will go back to the NFL, leaving the University of Michigan. Okay, I got to stop that. Yeah, so Jim Harbaugh just announced is leaving the University of Michigan Wolverines to coach the Los Angeles Chargers again. And there's the super chat from Erica. Thank you for that, Erica. Where's the bell at? Thank you so much for that. Why is everybody showing up on a Sunday? What's going on? Should we just do always Sunday broadcast? I'm so glad I was aware. Oh, okay. I don't know what's going on with Myra. Thank you for sharing that. Are you going to watch Super Bowl? No. Nope. Racist National Football League? No thanks. No thanks. Not interested. Race hustling, slimy conduct from the NFL and their lack of attention over the years to serious head trauma, not addressing concussions. No. I have no interest in the Super Bowl. If the Detroit Lions had gone, I would probably watch it just to root the Detroit Lions on. But they choked. They screwed up big time. Yep. Weekend broadcast. People are busy in the week. Don't have mind space for ANC and AFF this week. Well, maybe, Arctic. I mean, I always do weekend broadcasts unless there's rugby interfering, but there's been a lot of rugby in the past few months, and so I haven't always had the stuff. But the weekend broadcasts they're not always successful. Sometimes, like today, we got nearly 100. And what did we peak? Did we get 100 or we get 90-something? We hit 94 was the peak. So we hit 94, not 100. That's pretty good. If you're looking for a free accommodation with Ocean View, don't worry, me too. Well, thank you for that, RJ. That's not much help. Lions threw the game away. I was watching in Florida and people were pissed off. Well, they should be pissed off. I didn't watch the game. I saw a few minutes of it when I went into the VFW to check on what was going on there. And the Lions had rushed out with a quick touchdown. They were driving down the field again. I thought they got this thing won. And then later on, I saw they squandered it. So pretty much sad situation for the Lions. It took so long to get to that level, and then they pissed it down the drain. Yep. They piss it down the drain. Really sad to see that. Well, it is almost 12:30 here on the East Coast, folks. And it's chilly outside. That's warmer than it was, 46 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's not too bad. Not too bad, but not exactly balmy summer conditions. But the sun is out. It's shining and generating solar power. Let's take another peek in here. Ooh, 7.5 kilowatt hours now added to my production. Cool beans. Artie says, I'm trying to get into football, but dude, I end up drinking my way more than with rugby. I'm missing the result. Well, Arctic, that's the thing. Football's all about barbecues, tailgate parties, drinking, and gambling. Whether it's fantasy football teams or it's actually betting on results, that's a big part of football. I don't gamble. I don't really get into tailgate parties because it's usually in the fall or winter and it's cold. We want to stand around and barbecue some meat on a grill in the wintertime and drink beer, not my cup of tea. Drunken Yoda's been busy. Seems I'll be moving back up your way, Hagerstown. Oh, really? Okay. Well, Hagerstown's not too far away, Drunken Yoda. That's very different than Atlanta. I hope that that you find the change of pace to your liking. Hagerstown is okay. It's a nice town. Frederick has gotten too big. It's out of control. That's a little further to the east of Hagerstown. But Hagerstown's not too bad. It's a reasonable distance from here. If you get up this way, we can link up in Gettysburg from time to time if you want. 4 hours. Rugby, I knew. No, football's not 4 hours long. It's a 3 hour long broadcast. Knew my speed so I could at least talk about the game the next day. Football, I can comment in the first quarter, then I'm out. Well, you'll get there, Arctic, if you keep watching. I used to watch the NFL from 8 o'clock in the morning with the pregame shows on the NFL Network all the way up till the games, the pregames, then the games. And I watched the 1 o'clock game, I watched the 4 o'clock game, and then when it came with Sunday Night Football, I began watching those games. I watched all the games, and I was huge in American football. They ruined it with their racism and their bigotry and their hatred of majority Americans and their lies about this country denigrating patriots with Colin Kaepernick and supporting him when he violated the NFL Players Association collective bargaining agreement by walking on the field and taking a knee, which is in violation of that agreement. He should have been kicked out of the NFL, his contract abrogated, and been penniless. Instead, he's been promoted and pimped like he's some great humanitarian when he's an ungrateful little shit who betrayed the people who rescued him from certain death, and obscurity, bringing him into their wealthy, white, upper-income family in Minnesota and giving him a precious life full of privilege, which he then betrayed and lied as if he was some sort of victim of something. The only victim here were the American people who were hoodwinked by a scumbag named Colin Kaepernick. Yep. What kind of football? With or without vuvuzelas? No. Vuvuzelas are a disgusting, vile invention. It's the worst thing to come out of South Africa since Trevor Noah. Rugby is slated as child abuse, some reporter announced. What? What are they talking about? Andre the Writer was on Biz News. He lectures at Yale. Well, you can have him back. That's where I thought he'd be in Ireland. We don't need him. Andre the Writer is a leftist who thinks that expensive, inefficient, ineffective green energy is the answer to South Africa's woes. It's not. Had he spent his time repairing and functioning the coal-fired power plants, the load shedding wouldn't be as bad as it is now. What's the big boo-ha about Taylor Swift in football? Can't keep up with the outreach. It's nothing. Look, Taylor Swift is I won't say what I really feel about her. Her music is all the same. It's bubblegum pop. I don't know that there's even much talent in it. She's a heck of a performer. She knows how to milk things out of people. I'll give her that. But Taylor Swift, it's just a fake media invention, and that's what they do. It's just like Trump in 2015. He came down the escalator, and everything was Trump all the time. And they made billions of dollars off the advertising by showing Trump every time he spoke. Yeah, Taylor Swift, the same thing. They're just creating a phenomenon that's nothing. She's not even remotely one of the best musical performers on the scene today, let alone one of the best in history. Jonathan's here. Underwriter is the reason we have load shedding. No, he's not. No, he's not, Jonathan. No, he's not. That's nonsense. The reason you have load shedding is because the lack of maintenance in the coal-fired power plants over 30 years. The reason you have load shedding is the lack of capital set aside to build new plants. And then when they do build new plants, they just pilfer from like Casile and steal money and delay it. And then the cost of the damn thing is 4 times what it was supposed to be. The reason you have load shedding is because of pervasive theft. The reason you have load shedding is because the qualified, talented engineers and electricians that work for ESCOM were chased out of work because they were white, Indian, and colored, and they were discriminated against racially. That, Jonathan, is why you have load shedding. You have load shedding because you have corrupt members of the ESCOM board who buy contracts with companies by getting money under the table and paying 2 and 3 times the market price for services and goods, parts to keep the system operational. You have load shedding because criminal syndicates are the ones supplying painted rocks to ESCOM. This predates Andre the Writer, and you had load shedding because of that. This all reached a tipping point during the time that Andre de Ruyter was the chairman. He's no longer, he hasn't been for a year, and load shedding hasn't ended. Why? Because you cannot recover from progressive decline in the reduction in the quality maintenance of a system and just suddenly come back online by simply changing the head of the company. You must maintain and operate, improve, and upgrade facilities constantly. That is the bottom line here. That is why you have load shedding, not because of Andre de Ruyter. Come on, man. You don't have to like Andre de Ruyter, but you have to be honest about him. He was principled. Yes, he was wrong, but he was principled, RJ. That's 100% correct. And that was a start. So he exposed fraud, and his life was put in jeopardy. They tried to kill him. Not a fan, but I don't get a problem with when she goes to games and they're playing. There's no problem with her going to games. Nobody gives a flying flip about her going to games, Artie. The issue is that the television cameras every 30 seconds, woo, look at Taylor. What's Swifty doing? What is Taylor doing? What is Taylor doing? Tay-Tay. That's what they do all the time. I didn't watch the games and I know that's what's going on because people are complaining about it all the time. That's what the controversy is. And then it's a made-up controversy by the left. Well, conservatives have a conspiracy theory that Taylor Swift is Joe Biden's secret weapon. Did you hear her? I saw her in an interview with her mother. I don't know how she adopted. She doesn't look anything like the woman who's purportedly her mother. I saw her with her legs crossed, acting like a 12-year-old, talking like she was a bubblegum teenager. She knows nothing about anything. She's completely a vapid celebrity who knows nothing. And that's another reason why people are upset. Giving attention to brain-dead idiots who, because they've got a decent-looking body and can sing somewhat well, are pimped and promoted by the media. That's why a lot of people are upset. 80 rand for a roll of toilet paper. Whoa. Yeah, Escom. Slippery pickle, it's a lot more complicated than just shutting down coal-fired power plants. The coal-fired power plants have not been shut down. They shut down coal-fired power plants, but that was not a deal. That occurred long before the guilt money from Joe Biden's crooked regime and from the European Union. That money's just now coming to fruition. You've had coal-fired power plants that were mothballed years ago. They reopened 2 of them in the last few years because they have no power. Colin was taught by a former Army vet, Team 8, that taking a knee was acceptable. Almost all the owners are white. Go Chiefs. I don't know what you're talking about, an Army veteran. What is Team 8? Never heard of Team 8. And the fact that somebody in uniform is a moron, it's not a military issue. So you think soldiers are subject matter experts when it comes to civics in this nation? Many are. Most are, but not all. Just because you wear a uniform doesn't mean you know what the hell you're talking about. And the owners are white? That's not the point. That's not the point. What does it matter if the owners are white? When Colin Kaepernick started his garbage against America, lying about this country and distorting things and insulting Americans, he and his leftist little scumbags rushed to say, because at the time, everybody was like, we love the veterans. We thank you for your service. That was the norm every time someone saw a veteran. So they rushed to say, we mean no insult to veterans. It has nothing to do with veterans. Taking a knee when the national anthem plays is nothing to do with veterans or with the military. That's how stupid these people are. Taking a knee during the national anthem is a sign of disrespect to the country and to the nation. And to all the people who sacrificed to bring the rights, the God-given natural rights, these certain inalienable rights recognized by man and incorporated into this Constitution's Bill of Rights to protect those rights for Americans. It's an insult to them, to patriots who bled and died. It's an insult to the people who did the Civil Rights March to ensure that the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment actually had enforcement capability. It's an insult to the soldiers who deployed to Little Rock, Arkansas in 1954 to ensure that black children could go to the school when Brown versus the Board of Education said it was true. It's an insult to the people who died to keep this union together in the 1860 to 1865 in the American Civil War. It is an insult to black, to white, to brown Americans for scumbag Kaepernick to take a knee, menage a trois. It is an insult to this nation. It's a betrayal, and it has no place in football. If you want to honor the flag, fine. You want to be disrespectful, you have no place to do that in front of people who paid $300, $400, $500, $800 to sit in that stadium, $50 to park their car, and waste their day coming down there to watch a crappy team like the Redskins play against anybody. It is an insult. of the highest order. It was meant as an insult. It was meant as a racially divisive act. That's why Colin Kaepernick did it. It has nothing to do whether the owners are white, brown, blue, black, green, or yellow. Menage a trois. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with an insult to patriots, an insult to the greatest nation in the history of humankind. A nation that has brought more freedom, more liberty to more people on this planet than any other entity has in the entire existence of the human race. It is an insult. What about Jamie Tree YouTuber? I don't know who Jamie Tree is, Acid Zill. General electricity generation plant is referred to as a fleet because it's similar to a vehicle fleet. It breaks, needs servicing replacement. Escom's fleet is like high. I don't know what that means. Jonathan says, I blame the DA. They did nothing for 94. Well, again, Jonathan, I have to correct you, factually incorrect. There was no Democratic Alliance in 1994. It did not exist. It did not exist. It did not exist. The Democratic Alliance didn't exist until this century. So you got to be factually correct when you make that statement. You can be unhappy, Jonathan, with the DA. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But get the facts correct. Art says, okay, so serious question. Would it be disrespectful for South Africans living in the U.S. legally to put their South African flag on their cars or houses? No. Haitians do it. Why can't you? Now, if you go to a U.S. national soccer game and you start waving South African flags, that's disrespectful. Now, if they're playing South Africa, you can root for South Africa. That's different. But if you go to a soccer game and the U.S. is playing and you start waving South African flags, that's disrespectful. I mean, I went to a U.S. national game against, what are they playing? I forget who they're playing. Anyway, it was, and the people started waving Mexican flags. Then go back to Mexico. Menashqua says, Colin Kaepernick's teammate, as an Army veteran, told him it's acceptable. That's why he did it, to bring attention to police brutality. Again, let's unpack this, Menashqua. What does police brutality have to do with the American flag? A symbol that we have fought and died for. What does that have to do with it? The police are not national troops. It wasn't the FBI that was involved in police brutality. And it wasn't police brutality, it's a lie. George Floyd, the entire story, is fictional. It's a lie. He died as a consequence of his actions, his failure to follow the lawful orders of the law enforcement who were trying to stop him from being a danger on the streets of Minneapolis. Watch the entire half-hour video. Watch how the other black man who was in the vehicle in the passenger seat with him respectfully got out of the vehicle when the police asked him to get out, behaved himself, and was released. He didn't die. George Floyd caused his own death. He is the architect of his own demise. What does police brutality have to do with the American flag? The police are not standard bearers of the American flag. Yes, some police officers wear the flag on the uniform, but they are not the American flag. That's nonsense. It shows you how stupid Colin Kaepernick is or how little it matters. It was done intentionally, not about police brutality. It's done to insult Americans, to divide this country along racial lines, and to stoke hatred of the greatest country in the world. Colin Kaepernick is a disgusting slime. That's what he is. He's a repulsive, privileged little shit who made $60 million out of the NFL and accomplished virtually nothing except racial division and insulting American patriots. And then got hundreds of millions of dollars from a corrupt, leftist, hate-wanking, disgusting, poor quality Nike shoe company. You buy Nikes? I haven't bought them in 30 years because they're crap. They're crap, made by slave labor, essentially, in Asia. Jonathan says, Kaepernick is a little crybaby and very rich. Exactly. Liberal Party and Democratic Party merged to form the DA. That is correct. But there was no DA. There was no Democratic Alliance in 1994. All right. What is an alderman? An alderman is like a counselor. Yeah, like a counselor. Yep. And it happens in old style cities like Chicago and Boston have aldermen. We have city councilors, proper places. Timberland, okay. Okay. So Menage a Trois was protest police brutality before George Floyd. No, he wasn't. He was in the National Football League for years before he started protesting. He didn't do a damn thing until he started dating that radical bizarre freaking lunatic leftist scumbag girlfriend of his. And then suddenly he was whipped and he did what she said to do. Kaepernick didn't say anything about police brutality. He didn't do any volunteer work. He didn't contribute any money to scholarships. He just took his big paycheck and made his money and lived fat, dumb, and happy until he started dating that girl. George Floyd was high. George Floyd's death was not a result of the chokehold. That's a miscarriage of justice. They have a cop in prison for murdering George Floyd when the autopsy determined that the cause of death was a drug overdose, not the chokehold. The man's in prison. He's a political prisoner. I'm not endorsing the actions of the police officer. I'm just saying that he's a political prisoner. It's bullshit. It was declared illegal for public display in South Africa in August 2019. What other bullshit? What are you talking about? The old South African Republic flag? Anyway. All right, folks. We've been on over an hour and a half. I wasn't planning on doing that. So thanks a lot. We have 97 people currently here. Thanks for being here, but only 399 total. You guys have been here for an average of 20 minutes and 34 seconds. That's an incredible amount of time to stick with a broadcast of this length. He will file a Murza civil suit when he gets out. If he survives, he's already been, they nearly tried to kill him. If he survives, he doesn't contract HIV from being raped, Yep. Yes, they became the DA. That's correct, Jonathan. But you said the DA hasn't done anything since 94. You got to be correct on that. You should say opposition parties have not done anything since 1984. And the DA in particular, since it became an entity in the early 2000s, hasn't done anything. That would be a fair statement. But let's be factually correct. We all stretch things from time to time. But let's be correct about them. Anyway, thanks, everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. We got almost 100 likes. Come on, let's push it. 93 likes. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for the super chat money from Eric. And who was the other one? Was it Patrick? I think gave the other one.
That was easy.
And I'll catch you guys later. It's a sunny day. I'm going to head out and take care of some business. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being with us. We really do appreciate it. God bless and have a lovely day, folks. And I'm grateful for your patronage and your spending your Sunday with me today. I really do appreciate that. Thanks a lot. It's not easy to bring content all the time. It takes a lot of effort. God bless. And be safe out there.